The father's justice. Ryan, I just saw Laura in Miami. She was kissing another man. The words didn't echo. They dropped, heavy, into the quiet living room where the TV flickered against the wall. I was still holding the remote, thumb frozen mid-click, the blue light cutting across my hand. My chest tightened, not sharp, just sudden and deep, like something had slipped out of place. I didn't answer right away. Have you ever heard the truth about someone you love? From someone else's voice? 9 years, reduced to a sentence I couldn't unhear. This wasn't suspicion anymore. It was confirmation. I stared at the screen, then at nothing. That night, I didn't call Laura. I booked a flight to Miami, and I still don't know what I was hoping to see. I'm Ryan Mitchell, 37, married for 9 years to Laura Mitchell, the only person I never questioned. We didn't check each other's phones. We didn't track locations. Trust wasn't something we talked about. It was just there, built into everything. When Laura said she wanted a girls' trip to Miami, a few days to unwind with friends, I nodded before she even finished the sentence. That was us. Simple, certain. The night she left, the house felt different. Not empty, just quieter. The hallway light stayed on longer than usual, and her coffee mug was still by the sink, a faint lipstick mark on the rim. I sat on the couch, the TV casting soft light across the room, scrolling channels without really watching anything. Around 9, my phone buzzed. Just checked in. Wish you were here. Love you. I smiled, typed back without thinking. Love you too. Have fun. And I believed every word she sent, which makes me wonder now, at what point does trust stop being strength and start becoming something else? Scott Walker doesn't call me often, which is why I stepped outside when my phone rang again that night. The porch light flickered above me, casting a dull yellow circle on the concrete as his voice came through, low and uneven. Ryan, I don't really know how to say this. I leaned against the railing, gripping it tighter than I realized. Just say it. There was a pause, then he exhaled. I'm in Miami. I saw Laura tonight. She wasn't alone. For a second, nothing moved. A car passed at the end of the street, headlights sliding across the driveway. You're sure it was her? I asked, already hearing how hollow that sounded. Scott didn't hesitate this time. He described the bar. Dim lights, music too loud, people packed close. Laura was laughing, leaning toward a guy he later heard called Justin Carter. Their hands touched first, then stayed. That doesn't mean anything, I said quickly. You could have read it wrong. Another pause, heavier now. Ryan, I saw them kiss. I closed my eyes, pressing my thumb against the edge of my phone. Not anger, not yet. Just something sinking deeper than that. I can keep watching, if you want, Scott added. I didn't answer right away. Asking Laura would be easier, faster, but I already knew what I'd get. A version of the truth I couldn't trust. Yeah, I said finally. Stay on them. When the call ended, I stayed there a while longer, staring into the dark street, realizing this wasn't about doubt anymore. So what exactly was I waiting for? I didn't text Laura, didn't call, didn't even open our last conversation. The phone stayed on the table, screen dark, while the house settled into a quiet that felt heavier than before. I sat there most of the night, the glow from the kitchen light stretching across the floor, watching the clock move in slow, steady minutes. Every so often, I picked up my phone, not to reach out, just to check if she had said anything new. She hadn't. Sleep never came. By the time the first gray light slipped through the window, I was already dressed. I booked the earliest flight to Miami, fingers steady, no hesitation left. I didn't want an explanation. Explanations can be shaped, softened, twisted. I wanted something simpler than that, the truth, exactly as it was. Not reacting gave me control. Not confronting her yet meant she didn't get the chance to adjust her story. I packed light, a small bag, a few shirts, nothing that made this feel like a trip. The front door closed quietly behind me, the lock clicking into place like a decision I wasn't going to undo. Somewhere along the drive to the airport, the noise in my head faded. The anger didn't disappear. It just cooled, turning into something sharper, more precise. And as the plane began to board, I found myself wondering, when I finally saw her with my own eyes, would that be enough? Scott was already waiting when I stepped into the cafe near the beach. A corner table, two untouched cups between us. The air felt heavier than it should have, like even the noise outside couldn't quite reach us. He didn't waste time. He walked me through everything. The club first, loud music, flashing lights, then a bar on Ocean Drive where things slowed down. He said Laura was different there, leaning closer, laughing softer, her hand resting on Justin Carter's arm as it belonged. I listened without interrupting, eyes fixed on the table. And after that, Scott hesitated, glancing up. They went back to her hotel. The words didn't land all at once. They settled in pieces. "You saw them go in?" I asked. He nodded. "Same room. They didn't come out." I sat back, letting the chair creak under the shift, but nothing inside me reacted the way I thought it would. No anger. Not yet. Just something quiet locking into place. Still, hearing it wasn't enough. I needed to see it. That evening, we found a spot across from a restaurant where Laura had reservations. The patio was lit with warm hanging lights, voices blending into a steady hum. I saw her before she saw me, sitting across from him, smiling in a way I recognized too well. She leaned in as he spoke, their shoulders almost touching, her fingers brushing his wrist without pulling away. Time didn't slow. It just narrowed. Then it happened. She tilted her head slightly, and Justin met her halfway. Their lips touched. Casual. Practiced. As it had happened before. That was it. No more doubt. No more questions. Just the quiet certainty of what I was looking at. And standing there, watching her pull back and smile again, I realized I hadn't moved at all. So, what exactly was I about to do next? I stepped out from the shadow and walked straight toward their table. Not fast, not slow, just steady. The sound of my shoes on the pavement felt louder than it should have, but neither of them noticed until I was already there. Laura looked up first. Her face changed instantly, the color draining as her eyes locked onto mine. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" Her voice cracked halfway through, barely above the noise around us. Justin Carter glanced between us, confusion turning into something else as he pushed his chair back. He muttered an excuse I didn't bother to catch, then walked off without looking back. I kept my eyes on Laura. "I came to see my wife cheating on me," I said, my tone even, almost detached. She shook her head quickly, tears already forming. "Ryan, please, it's not what you think. I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking." I let a small pause sit between us. "A mistake?" I repeated quietly. "You don't plan a trip, meet the same guy, go back to a room, and call that a mistake." Her hands trembled as she reached across the table, but I didn't move. "I'm sorry. I swear. It didn't mean anything. Please, we can fix this." I looked at her hand, then back at her face. "No," I said simply. "We're done." The words didn't need force. They just stayed there. "I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow," I added, stepping back from the table. She tried to say something else, but I didn't wait to hear it. No shouting, no scene, just a line drawn clean and final. As I turned away, I could still hear her voice behind me, but I didn't stop. And for the first time, I wondered if walking away would really be the hardest part, or the easiest. I didn't get far before I heard footsteps behind me, then a voice, softer than the noise of the street. "Ryan, wait." I turned, and there she was, Hannah Reed, standing a few steps back, her arms loosely folded like she wasn't sure if she should have followed. She held my gaze for a moment, then said it plainly. "You didn't deserve that." No hesitation, no pity in her tone, just something steady. We ended up meeting later that night at a small bar near the water. The place was dim, ocean air drifting through the open windows, the low sound of waves mixing with quiet music. We sat across from each other, drinks barely touched at first. Hannah didn't ask too many questions. Instead, she shared her own story, a marriage that ended the same way, someone she trusted choosing someone else. She spoke calmly, as she'd already lived through the worst part. For the first time since everything started, I felt my shoulders loosen slightly, like I could actually breathe again. There was no rush, no expectations, just two people sitting in the same moment, understanding something without needing to explain it. At one point, her hand brushed mine, not deliberate, but not pulled away either. I noticed it, and so did she. Neither of us said anything about it, but something shifted, and I wasn't sure yet what that meant. The knock came late, sharp, uneven, echoing through the quiet hotel room. I opened the door and found Laura standing there, hair loose and tangled, makeup smeared, her eyes red like she hadn't stopped crying. "Ryan, please don't do this," she said, stepping forward before I could answer. "It was a mistake, I swear. It didn't mean anything." Her voice kept repeating the same words, like saying them enough times could undo everything. I stayed where I was, one hand on the door, not letting her come any further. "You should have thought about that before," I said quietly. She shook her head, reaching for me. "We can fix this. We've been through too much." The bathroom door opened behind me. Laura's words stopped mid-sentence as Hannah stepped out, wearing one of my shirts, the fabric falling loosely against her frame. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, calm, meeting Laura's stare. Recognition hit instantly. Laura's expression froze, then twisted. "Hannah?" Her voice sharpened. "Are you serious right now?" She looked back at me, anger rising through the tears. "You're accusing me of betrayal, and this is what you're doing?" I let out a short breath. "You're asking me that, after everything you did?" Something in her snapped. She lunged forward, grabbing Hannah's hair, pulling hard. "Get off," Hannah gasped, stumbling back. I stepped in immediately, grabbing Laura's arm and forcing her away. "That's enough." She struggled for a second, then stopped, breathing hard, her anger breaking into something weaker. "Get out, Laura," I said, opening the door wider. She stood there, shaking, looking between us like she didn't recognize anything anymore. Then she turned, walking out into the hallway without another word. The door closed behind her with a quiet click, and for a moment, the room felt completely still. So why did it feel like something had just finally ended? A few months passed, not quickly, but steadily, like days stacking on top of each other without asking for permission. The paperwork moved forward, signatures placed where they needed to be, until the divorce was finalized without any last-minute calls or second thoughts. I didn't reach out to Laura, and she didn't reach me. Whatever explanations she might have had stayed where they belonged, with her. Somewhere along the way, I stopped wondering why it happened. The truth I saw was enough. It didn't need to be softened or explained into something easier to accept. I spent more time alone at first. Simple routines, early mornings, quiet evenings, the kind of stillness that didn't feel heavy anymore. And slowly, something shifted. Not relief all at once, just less tension in my chest, fewer thoughts, looping back to the same place. I realized holding on to myself mattered more than holding on to what we had. And as the anger faded into something quieter, I found myself asking, if letting go felt this clear, why did it take me so long to get here? Months later, life didn't reset all at once. It shifted in small, steady ways. Hannah stayed, not as a replacement, but as someone who chose to be there without conditions. We kept things simple, dinners at home, quiet drives, conversations that didn't feel forced. Eventually, we got married. Nothing elaborate, just a small room, a few people, and a promise that felt real because neither of us tried to decorate it. For the first time, I understood what trust actually looked like. Not something you assume, but something you notice in the details. I heard about Laura once or twice through mutual friends. Different relationships, none of them lasting, but it didn't stay with me. That part of my life had already closed. What stayed was the lesson. A family doesn't fall apart in a moment. It breaks the second trust is treated as optional. Betrayal isn't an accident. It's a decision made more than once. You can rebuild time, even money, but once trust is gone, it doesn't return the same way. If this story made you think about something in your own life, take a moment, like follow, or just sit with it. And tell me this: if you were in my place, would you forgive Laura or walk away the moment you saw the truth?